Yeah, that is it. Town staff comments.
Well, I'm very happy that the commissioner is here. And the reason that I'm very happy that the commissioner is here is that today the town, with the commissioner's help, was able to take a strong stance for protecting the rural lifestyle of our community and the surrounding communities. And I would love to hear the commissioner speak on this because she carried the day. But the county commission voted, if I recall correctly, 5-1 to oppose Wellington's annexation efforts of Entrada Acres and the Sluggett property. And they did it based upon non-compliance with the statutory requirements.
Wow, we should have let
That's
that go
correct.
early.
So we at the county are going to try to help oppose the annexation. And one of the things I wanted to mention, and that was brought up during our meeting, is that I thought it better suited, to keep it rural, it better suits Loxahatchee Grove's lifestyle. The biggest thing to consider here is the amount of commercial space that would be included, which is a tax-based revenue. And it's either going to go to, because I don't think, we'll see, I'm not an attorney, but it is my opinion that when people fail the first time at something, they keep trying until they get it. So there's no guarantee whether if we succeed at opposing this, that it will last forever. The best way to try to preserve, in my opinion, the rural lifestyle is to, if there's going to be a vote for annexation, define an area that you, the council, would like to potentially annex, and see if you want to put that on the ballot in the future. And they're doing it right now in North Palm Beach with Gardens and North Palm Beach County. Of two different areas where they're going to be voting between which area they want to get annexed into. The residents will. So I don't know how expedient you can be, but I believe it's coming up in March. So just putting it out there, again, you are the board. You get to decide what you want to do, but it might be a potential way for you to protect the rural area and give the voters the option of where they would rather go. But I would say very distinctly, I would take a look at the area and bring in people. Because right now, the majority of the area that is defined is not homesteaded. So the people don't live there. The builder has even been very upfront that they want to build an extremely large amount of commercial space, square footage wise. Watch our meeting. They even cover it from earlier today. I don't remember the exact numbers, or I would just tell you, and I don't want to tell you the wrong numbers. And then so many, like 1 million square foot of commercial. And
That's greedy.
And it's like 3 to 5 or more units per acre.
It's up to 8.
Or up to 8.
Yeah, it's up to 8.
Oh, there you go. Even more.
Yeah.
Great. Right.
Residential units or
Yes. Yep.
Correct,
per
per
acre.
acre.
Wow.
So what I say is, even if maybe residents west of you haven't been in huge support of being annexed before, I would like to think, given the option between Loxahatchee Groves or Wellington, it's a no-brainer. But that is the best way, in my opinion. If I were you, the council, I would start that process. I believe there is a deadline this month to get on the ballot. So I believe it is up to the mayor to ask for any sort of special meetings. If you wanted to meet again, or whatever that process is, you'd have to talk to the attorney and the manager and see how expeditiously you could do that prior to the supervisor of elections deadline of getting on the ballot.
So you're saying to call a special meeting?
If I were you, and you might even
Suggesting.
need 2. Yes.
Suggest.
I am suggesting, and you might need two. I'm looking at your attorney. How many readings would there have to be to for that?
Well, council, what do you think?
May I?
Absolutely.
I think we should direct our staff to put a referendum out to the people of Loxahatchee Groves to annex to the west. And
Those parcels.
all the 5-acre parcels and,
Well, just
possibly even
call it Entrada,
60 acres.
Entrada Acres.
call it Entrada Acres.
Entrada is 2 acres.
You want enough people.
Yeah.
Yeah, Entrada is.
You want
3 acres on
homesteaded
the
people.
corner.
My biggest problem today
Oh,
and the
I
biggest
thought it was
opposition I had
small.
to it is because I want people to vote. But my biggest opposition is that the most amount of voting power didn't lie with the homesteaded properties, with people who were actually going to live there. It landed with businesses that aren't going to be directly impacted. So I'm suggesting reach more people that live in the area and get a true sense of what they would want.
You
So
want them to vote? Or we need
Do.
to do an in-town vote
So
referendum?
it was said today in the meeting, and I haven't verified this, but I'm repeating what was said in our meeting, that the builder went and bought the properties and now has the voting capability to annex.
wow,
Yes.
Again, I didn't verify that. This is what was said in the meeting earlier today.
that's one way to secure your investment.
It is an involuntary annexation, which means it doesn't have to come before us for approval. We just voted to oppose it because they do not meet, in our opinion, the statutory requirements.
Wow. So as far as council is concerned, do we have consensus to ask staff to call a special meeting for us to discuss this?
Or a referendum vote, yes,
And
for
we'll,
the town.
Because you're gonna need to define the area
Yeah.
On the
first.
ballot.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
That special meeting needs to be a meeting to vote on an ordinance. You need to
You
discuss
would need,
now.
you would need two of them. They have to be advertised properly. And the referendum wouldn't be for the members of the town. It would be for the members of the area, residents of the area to be
And
annexed.
before we do
Landowners.
that,
Yeah,
And-
it's 37 or 39
So you would
registered
look at a map,
voters.
right?
Yep.
And you would say, the obvious places that match your city would be all the 5-acre properties.
right.
And then, I mean, I'm not looking at it, but I looked at it earlier and there's a good,
62nd, those are acre and a quarters.
I think that.
the
we
more
could
people
vote-
voting
the
helps
better.
you.
Sure.
Okay, I'm just
Yep.
gonna put that out.
They're voting,
Okay.
they might not necessarily get annexed into our town.
Well, they're going to, if Wellington
Yep, they will.
succeeds, remember, we are just trying. It's not a guarantee.
Right.
The best case scenario or bet is if one of the scenarios that would work is if Wellington and Loxahatchee Groves was on there and it lets the residents decide where they'd want to go. Right?
Makes sense.
Now, we are opposing it, so we're not saying Wellington will even be on there. But what I am saying is this is a great way to give people options and let people vote, because it's not just, again, I made this point earlier, it's not just the people within inside the area they're wanting to annex. It's all the people around that that are going to be affected.
Mhm.
All those properties that are now going to be surrounded with 8 units packed into 1 acre that don't get to vote. What you guys can do is take a look at it and say, these people are going to be affected. They should have a say.
I hear what you're saying.
That doesn't even fit in with the atmosphere out here.
You got it.
And
That's what
another
we
point
voted
brought
for.
up, again, just reiterating our own meeting, why would they care
Money.
about people on the other side of Southern as much as they do in town? You don't want to have that, in my opinion, the people who are on the outside who are not getting the attention they should.
Well, not only would they be satellites, but they're not being provided services by Wellington.
That's
They're
my
being
point.
provided
Mhm.
services by everybody else.
Palm Beach County.
So, yeah. So Robert had his light first, then Marianne.
Did I? Okay.
Emma.
So if we did move forward, we need to define the area.
You have to do a feasibility study of the area after it's defined. You have to do 2 readings of an ordinance. One needs a 7-day advertisement, one needs a 5-day advertisement. You have to get permission from the supervisor of elections because you're probably not going to make the ballot deadline, or you may have already missed it for this type of question. It's
Well, let's find that out
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, do we have consensus to find?
Yes.
that-
Yeah,
Yes,
it's only if it's
Yes.
only a few ballots.
Yeah. and
Sir,
vote though, Robert.
we had a meeting.
Yes,
all
ma'am.
right, Marion,
Yeah. That would be wonderful. Thank you very much, Commissioner. I would also be remiss if I didn't mention that the vice mayor did a very, very amazing job representing our community with a lot of facts and anecdotal information. And also thank you to you, Mayor, in meeting with the commissioner and protecting the town.
I want to add,
the honor was mine, thank you.
I want to add, the reason they didn't meet the state statute, it requires one, maximum 1 acre lot size, it's about the size, which is something that when we became a town, we had to get permission from the state because we didn't meet that same criteria. So I think knowing that we became a town without meeting the criteria, I don't see where we would get pushback. If we're getting other 5-acre properties similar to what's in our town.
Right. Right.
But the process, Elizabeth, how do you get it to the voters? I mean, council can't just
No, so
create an ordinance. I
well,
mean,
you do. So you do a feasibility study, and some other things. After you look through, the feasibility study is, similar to what you all may have seen that Wellington did, where it talks about the services to be provided, the nature of the area to be annexed, the municipal services, water mains, sewer mains, things like that. And how the method
who does that?
you do that.
You as in staff can do that.
Well,
Or
it's,
do you have
it's
to
a-
hire
consultant or
usually
two.
hire someone to do it.
like a what, a land planner or something or what?
Well, the one who did the
Wellington's
Wellington-
feasibility study was a 1-page sheet.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
not like it takes
Right. And then
an hour or so.
before you can move further, after you have the feasibility study, you provide your feasibility study to the Board of County Commissioners. That has to be at least 15 days before you do anything else. Then you have to have a give 10-day notice by mailing notices to the property owners, and then you start the ordinance process, which requires also the advertising of the ordinance twice. And after the ordinance, so that your ordinance has the question about, being annexed into the town of Waxahachie Groves, it gets put on the ballot and it goes to the residents or landowners of the area to be annexed.
Yeah,
That's
we
the
can't meet
very
those deadlines
short
because
version.
December 18th, you've
Right.
got to get on the agenda for the January board meeting. And if that's a requirement before we ever even hold our first ordinance. I think Wellington went to the board today and their ordinance was on their agenda tonight, I believe. Wasn't it first reading?
In Wellington, it was on their agenda
Yeah.
tonight, but they're not doing the first reading of the ordinance. They're only discussing the ballot language. And I guess the question that we have had is how can they discuss ballot language without an ordinance? So I don't know if that's a special agreement with the supervisor or not, but I'm sure we would be able to come up with something similar.
And that's-
We
that-
are opposing
Yeah,
it this time around. I don't
Yeah.
believe they made or have done all their statutory
they have
requirements.
not.
If they're not on March, even starting the process now of looking at it for you
Mm.
guys, you might have a chance for August. Right?
Oh, there won't be any special elections. Or at least that's what supervisor said, because it's a presidential election year. She said she's not having any special elections this year.
Right, but
So it's
August will
November.
be a primary and it also is the time that some of the actual seats get filled.
Is it
Yeah,
happen
so
in
there,
August?
there
That's what
should
I'm
be,
saying.
you
August
know.
would be the next like main cycle of ballots. And then following that is obviously November.
I just don't know what direction we can give you tonight. You tell us what we can do to,
think we
you know, we want to get the ball rolling.
Well, what
Yeah.
we
That-
do as a
Yeah.
How
board.
fast can it roll and?
Do what you can.
Yeah.
Yep.
We'll work
Get
with
it
the
started.
commissioner's
Yeah,
office.
just get it
and see
started,
what we
please.
Can do with the timing.
Absolutely. Whatever
Thank
I can
you.
do to help, guys.
Thank you.
We'll also work with our lobbyist.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Marianne, I'm sorry. I'm staring at her light and saying next.
It's okay.
Sorry.
I do want to kind of bring it up that I feel like we're a day late and a dollar short. Because we discussed this and we got pushback from some of the residents that said, why do we need to take on more property than what we can manage, yada, yada, yada. And other municipalities don't care. They will steamroll over us getting what they can get. And that's exactly what's happening now. So, you know, I think at one point in time, we said we were, as a council, we were going to try to be proactive and not reactive. And here we are again with our hand to the fire and our feet also in there, trying to recover what we should have kind of gone after in the first place. So I hope this all works out in the time frame that we have to do what we need to do to see if people want to join Loxahatchee Groves.
Well, I will share one little ditty here, and I'm thinking long game. So for the 3 roads that we're talking about for the 37 properties, I'm not even crossing Seminole Pratt. All 3 of those roads, Van Gogh, Velasquez, and I'm drawing a blank on the other name. All 3 of those roads,
The other painter.
It is,
Thank-
I think it's
it-
Picasso.
yeah.
Rembrandt, right, thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
if you get on one of those roads and drive east, you dead end into 200 acres of farmland, leveled, treeless, with access to Southern Boulevard. If this does not work out in our favor, that 200 acres can put up their hand and say, hey, I want to annex somewhere else. Hello,
No.
they can't. Okay. So anyway, but well, I mean, they're in Loxahatchee Groves now. If they ended up butted up to another municipality, could they say, hey, I want to be with you?
Yeah, right.
They would have to
Submit-
go through
came
the
back to
legislature,
us, right?
going
There
through
you
the
go.
statutory process, like we talked about, and as the vice mayor said, as we talked about with the Village of Royal Palm properties that annexed there that had been in the water management district or water control district boundary. You cannot de-annex from a municipality and then annex into another one because the constriction regulations require you say, look, the nature of my property, I don't belong in a municipality. So by saying I don't belong in a municipality, you can't then turn around the next day and say, but I belong over in that one.
All right. So my fear is false then. But, you know, it could be a dang long challenge for land use and access and, you know,
But now Smith de-annexed from Royal Palm and came back with us. And so did the 2 properties south of Smith.
you're speaking of history that I don't know.
Okay, wait a minute. They were not in Royal Palm. They were unincorporated Palm Beach County.
That's right.
I thought they were Royal Palm.
No. They were unincorporated Palm Beach County, but you're right. Aunt Royal Palm was licking their chops.
But back to Council Member Miles' point, we're a day late and a dollar short. We talked about this in 2019, got pushback and it didn't happen. And here we are. So Elizabeth, please work your magic, do whatever it is you can, and we'll go from there. All right. Manager comments and a motion to extend.
Make a motion to extend.
Second.